In sports news, the Los Angeles Angels outfielder Mike Trout won the 2014 American League Most Valuable Player Award. He received all 30 first-place votes. Trout led the league with 115 runs and 111 runs batted in, also known as RBIs. The Detroit Tigers' Victory Martinez finished second, so congratulations to him. Well, it is Thursday, and that means it's time to get a take on the news from the left, right, and middle. Once again, from the left is award-winning journalist Karen Hunter, and from the right is Washington attorney Horace Cooper. Hello to both of you.
Good evening.
All right, I'm going to do a little behind-the-scenes thing. Karen, I know you were saying that you couldn't hear. Horace, just say hi again. I want to make sure Karen can hear you.
Hey, Karen, how are you doing tonight?
Okay, I can't really, but it's good enough. The less I hear of Horace, the better.
I love hearing from you, Karen.
All right, use your outside voice to make sure she can hear you. All right, let's start off. Of course, the lame duck session of Congress is now in. And one of the things that has been talked about for a couple of years now, certainly over the summer, and that is immigration. Now the president has threatened to take his executive action to get some immigration reform, to provide basically amnesty for some, I believe, 4 million immigrants. And Congress has said if he does that, he poisons the well. So here's my question. And Karen, I want to start with you. Who has the most to lose? The president by circumventing Congress and using his executive actions, or the Congress who likely won't take this up and perhaps alienate an important voting bloc coming in 2016?
Well, I like the way you couched that question, Debbie. Obviously, you know who has the most to lose is the GOP, which runs both House and the Senate. This president is done. He can't run again. So all he can do is the right thing for the next year and change that he has in office. So yeah, no, this Congress, if they're going to have any kind of stake in 2016, they better walk in lockstep or watch what happens to them.
Horace.
Well, I see this a little differently. It appears to me that the real loser is going to be the legacy of the President of the United States, in that in his last 2 years, it was a complete and total war between the Congress and the president over every little issue, over every big issue. No opportunity for a grand bargain to reform Social Security, none of the kinds of great achievements. And the Republicans could just nominate Jeb Bush, who's married to a Latina, and end up getting back all of that lost vote.
So you think all you have to do is marry a Latina, and that's how you're going to get the Latino vote? That is such pandering. And I think you should have a little bit more respect for people. I think you should have a little bit more respect for people who are
pandering.
Yes, that's pandering.
Is when you break the law and
you.
issue executive orders that you don't have the authority to do. Let me remind you, Bill,
since we're doing history, Bill Clinton had a similar situation, and he got impeached. And his presidency is not remembered for those last 2 years. It may be remembered for that woman that he didn't have sex with. But, you know, we really kind of have a warm feeling about the presidency of Bill Clinton, despite all of that. George Bush, again, sent us into this war in Iraq, trillions of dollars, thousands of lives lost. We still have a different view of his presidency years later. I disagree with you. President Barack Obama has done a lot. Just go online, Horace, and do some research, and you'll see the accomplishments of this president. That's what's going to be his legacy.
I've done the research, and I was working on Capitol Hill during the Clinton administration. And in fact, what the president did at that time was embrace the Republican majority in the United States Senate and the House of Representatives and work with them.
Well,
he
this president has tried. Didn't he have
1996.
breakfast with them? Hasn't he reached out? He's been reaching out his whole presidency. The difference is there's a difference in melanin between Bill Clinton and this president.
Here's the answer to the question. Here's the answer. You answer this question. The golfer in chief, how many times has he golfed with House Speaker Boehner?
Horace,
how many times?
So much bigger than that. You don't have to reduce this conversation to name calling of the President of the United States. You don't have to do that.
You work with Congress by actually interacting with them. And that's what Clinton did. And that's not what this president's done. And this will poison the well and make it even more difficult.
I'm so glad you used that phrase, because I wanted to ask you specifically, Horace, about that. Explain to me the logic of Mitch McConnell, who will be the Senate Majority Leader when the new Congress goes into session in January. Explain to me the logic that he threatens the president with poisoning the well if he moves forward with these executive actions, when Senate tried or did pass bipartisan immigration reform just a year and a half ago. That makes no sense.
Okay. You can take health care, you can take welfare, you can take immigration. One body passing a bill doesn't count and make it the law. What you have to do is you get
Horace, I know that, but he was in the Senate a year and a half ago.
Debbie, he's doing talking points.
No, I'm not doing any talking points. You have to get the House to come along with a version, and you cooperate. What is happening is that by the executive orders that got issued on health care, instead of coming back to Congress to reform it, it makes people believe that a comprehensive immigration bill will not be enforced because that too will have executive orders done. And this is what I mean by poisoning the well.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to our next topic before we run out of time. And that is, of course, it was in the New York Times today, the proposed cuts, particularly in the Army by the Department of Defense, that the Army by 2019 will go down to a force as small as back in World War I. And there's been some discussion about whether it's wise to do that because we have so many, let's just call them conflicts around the globe. Is this a good time for this? So, Horace, let's start with you. How wise are these cuts for our armed forces?
Well, I said on this program, actually back in February, when the president announced that he was going to do his annual, his 4-year review of our military defense posture, and he gave them a target dollar amount rather than letting them use the threats that exist. And I said at that time it was dangerous, and I continue to say that. The president just announced something that I support, which was that he's doubling the number of people that are going to be fighting against ISIS. You are going to need to be able to do that battle. We may necessarily have to support NATO in the Russian conflict. There are a number of opportunities where the other side, the people who don't like us, who don't trust us, will challenge us, and we need to be able to say that we're strong enough. These cuts send the opposite message.
Well, actually, they don't. It's common sense. We spend $642 billion on our military. It's 20% of our federal budget, and it's 8 times the amount of anyone else. Actually, 8 countries combined don't spend as much as we do on the military. Wars are fought a lot differently today. And in fact, since we're doing facts right now, we haven't been hit under this president at all. So obviously there's something that we're doing right. Taking out Osama bin Laden was done not by a strong military force, but by very strong intelligence. Hold on, Horace. Very strong intelligence and great technology. This is the war of the future, and this is how we need to attack people in the future, not the way we did during World War II or Vietnam. So yeah, there's a different method for different times, and we don't need to spend as much money.
There's some New Yorkers watching this program. New York City, a bomber placed an explosive in a car to attack America.
Didn't
we had a person get on an airplane on Christmas Day in Detroit. It didn't work. Not because of what we did. We had good luck.
Listen, Horace.
Good luck.
No, it's not luck. It's not luck. We have great intelligence, and we
did not have any intelligence.
The last president didn't even care about Osama bin Laden. At least this president got rid of him.
Our ambassador is dead because of terrorists.
Horace, really?
Are you watching? Are you watching the Americans getting beheaded? You say that we're not being hurt, we're not being attacked.
Yes,
absolutely.
No, what I'm saying is war is different now. When we look at how we're attacking other countries, we have a lot of different methods that we can use to effectively do the job that we need to do. We don't need millions of troops out there. We don't need.
Scene. We're out of show.
If only this were that.
Karen Hunter, Horace Cooper, thank you. It's always a pleasure.
Good evening.
All right, we'll see you next week. That's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow for another edition of Horizon America. Bye-bye.